place. Larry Zerner? Well, you might know him from Friday the 13th, Part 3, but now he's a very successful entertainment lawyer. His secretary said he would be here. Alcohol is bad for you, you know. One too many and the pickle can end up in the love tunnel, and then before you know it, it's a shotgun wedding. Not that I would know from experience, of course. Oh.
Whoa! I love the costume. Mrs. Voorhees, right?
Costume?
In costume and in character. Love it. Here, have a drink.
Oh, no.
But come on, it's the Halloween party.
Guess this is a special occasion.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason's mom has got it going on. Jason's mom has got it going on.
Hey, bottoms up.
Oh. Well. Chase Conroy. Pamela, remember your restraining order. Well, thank you, Sonny.
No problem. You're gonna be seeing some stranger things later.
Oh. Whoa, what happened? Oh.
Damn, that was one hell of a night.
Oh.
Pamela, you are a freak between the sheets.
Ah. I've been waiting so long to do this particular episode. Now, I was hoping the timing would work out to where episode 13 could coincide with this month's Friday the 13th, but it didn't work out that way, so we are doing Friday the 13th. Little update on our Patreon. We passed $200.
Yes! Thanks to you guys.
Need to get up to 10%, and then 20, and then 30. But hey,
chipping.
Chips. I think somebody signed up for the wood chipper level.
Oh yeah, speaking of chips.
I think they're going to be here maybe tomorrow, so
cool.
You and I got to rent the wood chipper. So thank you guys so much. Anybody out there who hasn't contributed yet, you can go to patreon.com/ or actually it's / I always say backslash.
Just say
okay,
slash.
Patreon.com/ the Horror Geekcast.
Think slasher.
Yeah, think slasher, and then you'll remember the slash.
The slash.
And it won't matter if it's back or forward.
Whatever.
It's just slash.
Just slash it up.
So our other social media, facebook.com/ the Horror Geeks. We're creeping up to 1,000 likes on that page, so we need to get there.
All right.
And
help
then
us out, peeps.
Twitter and Instagram @the Horror Geeks. On Twitter, we're also creeping close to 1,000 followers, so we're creeping,
crawling.
Creepy crawlers.
Now, you'll see that I'm wearing a shirt today. Didn't have enough money to have this printed up, so I just wrote it on a piece of paper. It says, Jason was framed. And I am now convinced of that because of the time that I spent with Pamela. Pamela has been here for the last couple days. She's in a ball over on the bed because you guys at that party got her so drunk, she's been hungover, and I've been taking care of her.
She's like twice my age. She can handle her alcohol. I mean, she's a grown woman.
Really? You think Pamela, who never had a drink in her life,
I refuse to feel guilty.
The moral high ground, can handle her liquor?
Look, I'm sorry. We all had a nice night. You were pretty toasted too. Don't play all innocent here, bro.
Yes, Mrs. Voorhees. Yes, Mrs. Voorhees. I'll get you that. I'll get you that Bloody Mary. All right. Well, now that Mrs. Voorhees is taken care of, I really hope she doesn't ask for a second Bloody Mary.
It's a lot of drool.
It is a lot of drool. So getting to our topic.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th for me was a massive part of my childhood.
None of them are my favorite horror films, but as a franchise, it's the best. It really is. It really, as a set of films, it's just so fun to kind of get more and more into the lore of Jason and see him kind of shift around as the time goes on.
And the only person I'd ever known was his mother. Never went to school, so he never had any friends. I mean, she was everything to him.
Part 4, which came out in 1984, is the first one I remember seeing in the theater. Mm-hmm. But I had Showtime where I was staying.
How old were you?
How old am I?
6 or
How
7?
old was I?
In 1984.
In 1984, I was 9. Well, I was probably 8 when the movie came out. Because it came out during the summer.
So you saw that movie at 8 years old?
Oh, yeah.
And your parents let you?
My dad let me.
Wow. Man, your dad.
My mom didn't let me.
Your dad was
but
pretty awesome.
The Showtime, like when 4 came out, they were showing the other 3 on Showtime, and so I saw those. So I saw those movies as a kid, and then sort of from part 4 on, it was just a part of your childhood.
Right.
It was like, and people would look forward to it every year, just like they would look forward to the NBA Finals or something. It was something that was happening
show or something
every year. It's
yeah.
Oh, there's a new Friday the 13th. Seeing those movies as a kid could lead someone to being aquaphobic. But then also maybe like the fear of being in the woods or camping.
Right.
I know in my adult life...
Woodsophobic?
I don't know what that's called. I know in my adult life, I love camping, especially when I lived in the Pacific Northwest. I used to go backpacking, go out for 3, 4, 5 days at a time.
That's great.
But what about you and how's your camping experiences? And have you experienced anything weird that might make you think there's something out there that might get you?
I was actually camping outside of Alamogordo, which is a weird kind of place anyway.
I was going to say, people see weird stuff out in New Mexico.
Yeah, and I remember just looking up at the sky a lot of times and seeing things that I couldn't clearly just kind of put into a category. Like, oh, that's a satellite. Oh, I'm like, that's definitely a UFO. But I remember one night we're walking around and it was this kind of eerie, cool blue moonlight anyway. The moon was really big, but saw flashing green strobe lights like in the distance a couple times. And then one time we thought we saw something hover red and green and then just go straight up and then disappear. And I remember looking over to my buddy and being like, you saw that, right? And he was like, yeah.
And you weren't on mushrooms?
We weren't on mushrooms.
Weren't on mescaline, peyote?
No.
The name rang a bell, but I couldn't concentrate. Terrible things were happening all around us.
In 2000, myself and my buddy and his girlfriend at the time and my dog moved from Indiana to Seattle. But we took a 5-week-long road trip and went up through Michigan, northern part of the country, and then down to Colorado, and then down to the Southwest and up the coast. But one night we stayed in Wyoming, somewhere outside of Yellowstone. And middle of nowhere, Wyoming. This was later in the fall, so there weren't really people there. So, we set up camp, we built a fire. This truck, a little bit after dark, pulls in, like a big, long-bedded truck, and gets out, and the guy sets up a fire, and we're like, we're sitting around having a couple beers, chilling out.
Right.
And then this dude, who's probably about 6'5", 260, full hunter gear, blood all over him.
Oh, man.
Like Budweiser in hand.
Classic.
Comes up, And he ended up being a nice guy, but he was like drunk enough to where, he was kind of come across as being a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And, he took a seat down with us, and we just we handled it.
You're like, how long is this guy going to be here for?
Yeah, we didn't want to come off as being like city folk or something, even though we weren't. We're from probably a smaller town than he was.
Good evening. My new career is as a travel agency. Now I know what you're thinking. What do I need a travel agent for? Why, in fact, I can do everything online. And I will tell you, that's just not true. Because as a travel agent, what I can do is give you the best deals. First place you might want to go is the deserts of Nevada, where there is nothing, literally nothing, for miles. Hundreds of miles in every direction. Except for, a very close family inhabiting some abandoned mines, but never mind that. If you book your trip with me today, I will throw in a free radiation suit. But maybe you want to go to the sandy beaches that used to be traveled by Spanish conquistadors. And the water is so clear, you can see the sharks right from above. And sometimes there are zombies fighting these sharks. But the local inhabitants are very friendly. They just want hugs. They just want hugs. How about an Amazonian paradise? Here we go, the rainforest, where you can be met with broad smiles and loving embraces from the local inhabitants. Tribes that have been disconnected from society. They can teach you a thing or two. In fact, they'll have you over for dinner. They'll have you for dinner. Why would you want to spend the rest of your time in the cold ground when you can be in the warm belly of a friend? Well, that's all I've got for you today. And remember, a Chase Conroy vacation isn't a Chase Conroy vacation unless it's a vacation sold by Chase Conroy to you and you're vacationing on it.
Now, by the time this episode airs, Friday the 13th will have already passed. So hopefully you've all survived. You're okay. You had no visits from Jason. Pamela has reformed herself, so I'm not really worried about her. Right now, Andy, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh.
Excluding Freddy vs. Jason and the remake, give me your favorites in order.
Okay, well, my least favorite has to be 9. Jason Goes to Hell. Then second, I'd say 5. Then third, 8. Then fourth, 7. Then fifth, 4. Sixth, 1. 7, 2. 8, 3. 2, 10.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for that one.
Interesting.
And finally, my favorite is 6.
Part 6. We love all 10 of these movies.
Yeah.
But it's like some you like more than others.
And we had, we came from different angles. You grew up with them. You saw them as they came out.
Yeah.
I was still in my mom's womb in 84. Well, no, I was born January 3rd, 84.
So my 10, sort of a flip on yours. My least favorite is part 6.
Wow, total flip.
And I think I'm going to go into a reason for this, because I think people younger than me, such as yourself, love part 6. Mm-hmm. And people around my age, it's usually down toward the lower end. So I think there's a reason for that. My second least favorite is part 9. Number 8 is part 8. Jason Goes to Manhattan. There are things that I love about it, but I love things about other movies even more.
It's got some fun moments.
It does have some fun moments. Part 7 to me is part 5, which I actually like way more than a lot of people do. I also really like Jason X, and I've got to, I might as well tell it right now because I'm not going to talk about it in detail. The day that it came out, I was in Seattle. I went to the first screening the first day, and there were about 50 people in the theater, and after the movie's credits came up, there was about a 10-second delay, and everybody just sat there. And then it was like a spread of applause. People started clapping, and then by the end, everybody was on their feet cheering.
Cool.
Because, it was just nobody knew what to expect.
It was such a surprise.
But then after it sunk in, people were like, yeah, it's a badass Jason in space movie.
I know. Evil gets an upgrade. I remember that. I remember seeing the trailer for it in high school. What year was that?
I want to say 01.
01.
I want to say 01. Now, number 4 for me is part 4. These are getting into the ones where it's really difficult to decide.
Splitting hairs.
This part 4 is amazing. My third spot is part 7. I absolutely love part 7. First Kane Hodder Jason kind of takes the series in a different direction.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is the original. Got to have some Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Love me some Kevin Bacon. And then my favorite, and actually, to be completely honest, for me, this is by far my favorite, is part 2.
Jason, Mother is talking to you.
I wanted for both of us to talk about our favorite and least favorite in some depth.
Okay.
So since I just mentioned part 2, I'll go ahead and talk about that. Just to me, that's when the mythology of Jason started.
Right.
We open the movie. Of course, they come up with this ridiculous time frame. The movie was made a year after the original, but the temporal setting of the film is 5 years later. Because at the opening campground, the counselor's like, 5 years ago,
right,
Jason. So it's like, okay, take that with a grain of salt. And he gives a little bit of the legend there, but then when Jenny, played by Amy Steele, my number 1 horror crush of all time, when they're at the bar drinking, she tries to get in Jason's head. Or say, if he was real, what would he be like? A frightened child who's living out in the woods and he lost his mother. And so for me, that's a large part of it, was the
Agreed.
Really making Jason real.
They really made Jason.
Yeah.
In this one.
They did.
He had the burlap sack.
Oh, I love the burlap sack. So, Andy, your favorite doesn't have Pamela.
Doesn't have Pamela.
And it doesn't have human Jason.
It doesn't have, well...
Depending on your perspective.
Yeah, your paradigm. Loved 1 through 4. Thought they really kind of kept evolving. And then 5 was pretty cool. But I really thought 6 took it to the Jason that I kind of knew in my mind being caught up and well researched on the topic. And I thought there was this kind of Evil Dead funness to it. Lightning strikes the graveyard and you see him rise from the dead. And then you have zombie Jason. And, he was a lurking behemoth, Rasputin type where he couldn't be killed, boogeyman, very boogeyman. But now he was an undead Rasputin, unstoppable boogeyman. And you get to see kind of him rotting and him being this kind of walking corpse. And that introduced the element that I was most familiar with growing up, and for me, the most iconic version of him, which they follow up from the successors. And there was just a tongue-in-cheek kind of funness to this one.
It's the completion of the infamous Tommy Jarvis trilogy.
Right, you're right.
Which Tommy Jarvis played by different people in all three parts of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy.
Right.
I appreciate the movie. I understand why people like it. The one thing that I just can't get over in that movie is Jason's costume. I mean, he's got the skinny jeans that shows his nice plump ass and the utility belt and the gardening gloves. I do really appreciate the campiness of it. I really, really do. But the reason why it's my least favorite is exactly the point that you brought up. For someone your age or a little bit younger, I feel like the Jason that they have in their mind starts in part 6. And for people my age or a little bit older, the Jason we have is like the Jason from parts 2, 3, 4. So even as a kid, when I was watching those movies and part 6 came out, I felt disappointed. I was like, oh, I'm used to Jason, like, surviving the unsurvivable, you know, and he's coming back. But now he's rose from the dead, and so it started that new trajectory of Jason.
Right.
Which, now...
I mean, I can appreciate that.
In Part 7, I freaking love. I think they nailed it in Part 7.
The psychic girl was so cool.
Yeah, but to me, it's not that I hate the movie. Still love it. Still have seen it 35 times. Really appreciate it. Understand why other people really, really adore it. And for a lot of people, especially people your age, it is their number one.
I just couldn't get enough. I just thought it was hilarious. I watched it twice in a couple of days.
I mean, you got the triple decapitation scene.
Triple decat, the sex.
I'll take Jason walking into a Starbucks. I'll take a triple decap.
Venti?
Venti. Sir, we don't serve those here. Oh, yeah?
I beg to differ. You do now.
So your least favorite was Part 9, which is my next to least.
So we're eye to eye on that.
Yeah, we are on eye again. Again, I can appreciate it for what it is.
I can too. I can appreciate that it did something different. I mean, yeah, if you're going to keep doing the same thing, you've got to figure out a new way to do it. I think I ultimately just missed Jason being Jason. Yeah. You know, I thought it was a cool concept. There was some really cool parts. I thought the heart eating scene was really intense. Yeah. I was like, what's going to happen then? The music, like, you know, and it had some really intense stuff. But it also, I guess growing up, and this was probably just me like seeing the cover and seeing the title, Jason Goes to Hell, he never really goes to hell.
But I get so lonely down here. Tell me, why does it have to be that way?
I guess what are you going to just see him like hanging out in front of a flame pit, like, you know, trying to get Lucifer's pitchfork away from him, and I don't know, and then he starts killing people with the pitchfork. Like, what do I expect? But whatever.
Lucifer, give me that pitchfork.
I want the hat.
I had a pitchfork as a child, and then I drowned, and I didn't have the pitchfork anymore. I just want the pitchfork.
Man, you've been hanging out with Pamela a lot. You sounded a lot like her there. Like a lot.
At the mercy of the twisted perversions of a madman who satisfies his lust by torturing his victims with the bone-breaking rack.
Shouldn't do this, but a little bit of a heads up. Episode 13 is going to be on superstitions and curses. Ooh. So we can work some Friday the 13th back in. So
yeah, there's some curses going on.
Haven't seen the end of Jason on this show yet.
Of course not. We'll be back.
What? Honey? Honey?
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. Honey?
Barry.
Is that you?
Gotta wrap up the show first.
Is that you?
What is happening? What's going on?
Oh.
Barry? No.
Oh.
Pamela.
Oh. Whoa. Oh. Oh.
How was your nap?
Hello. Hello, Andrew.
Good to see you.
I feel so much better.
Good, good. Yeah, you partied pretty hard that night, huh?
Yeah, I had never had a hangover before.
Yeah, it sucks.
They're really quite nasty.
Yeah.
But that Bloody Mary Barry gave me just kind of got me back in the spirit of things.
Little hair of the dog.
I kind of feel like I'm ready to rock again.
Okay, good, good.
Kind of feeling a little jovial, if you catch my drift. Andrew, you're such a handsome young man.
Oh, thank you, Pamela.
You think I could scoot a little closer to you?
You're very
perhaps. Oh, Andrew, give Pamela a kiss.
Oh. We should probably Barry.
Andrew,
Barry, you should really get her out of here.
I'm gonna go for it.
Oh God!
Go for it.
Remember, only you
can prevent forest fires.